The rain hammered against the windows of our small apartment in Seattle, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For weeks, I'd been plagued by a gnawing unease, a feeling that something was terribly wrong. My wife, Astrid, a vibrant and passionate artist, had become distant, almost a ghost in our once joyful home. I'm Quentin, 44, an IT specialist, and until recently I thought I had a perfect life. It started subtly. Astrid, who used to greet me with enthusiastic hugs and stories about her day at the art studio, now barely looked up from her phone when I came home. Her laughter, once a constant melody in our lives, had faded, replaced by a strained silence. I tried to talk to her to ask what was wrong, but she always brushed it off, blaming stress from work or a creative block. "It's nothing, Quentin," she'd say, her eyes darting away from mine. "Just a lot on my plate right now." But I knew it was more than that. The late-night texts, the hushed phone calls she took outside on the balcony, the way she flinched when I touched her, it all pointed to something I didn't want to believe. One evening, I decided to surprise her at her studio. I brought her favorite coffee and a small bouquet of sunflowers, hoping to brighten her day and maybe break through the wall she'd built between us. But when I arrived, the door was locked, even though she'd told me she'd be working late. I peered through the window and saw her inside, not painting, but locked in a passionate embrace with a man I'd never seen before. My world shattered. The coffee slipped from my hand, the sunflowers falling to the ground, their bright faces mocking my foolish optimism. I stood there, frozen, watching the woman I loved, the woman I had promised to spend my life with, betray me in the most intimate way possible. I stumbled back to the apartment, my mind reeling. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The pain was a physical ache, a crushing weight on my chest. I spent the night pacing, replaying every moment of the past few weeks, searching for clues I had missed, for signs I had ignored. When Astrid finally came home, late and disheveled, I was waiting for her. I didn't yell, didn't scream. I simply asked, "Who was that man?" She paled, her eyes widening in fear. "What are you talking about?" she stammered. "I saw you, Astrid," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "At the studio, with him." Her denial was weak, pathetic. She tried to lie, to twist the truth, but I wouldn't let her. I confronted her with what I had seen, with the evidence I had gathered, and finally she broke down. "It just happened," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. Who is he?" I asked again, my voice cold. "His name is Thuron. He's a sculptor. I met him at an art exhibition a few months ago. And what? You just decided to throw away our marriage for a sculptor you barely know?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. The truth was written all over her face, a mix of guilt, shame, and a disturbing hint of excitement. That night I slept on the couch, the image of Astrid and Thuron burned into my mind. The next morning I told her I wanted a divorce. She begged me to reconsider, promising to end the affair, to change, to be the wife I deserved. But the trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. I couldn't forgive her. I couldn't forget. The divorce was messy, painful. Astrid fought me on everything, trying to take as much as she could. She claimed I was being unreasonable, that I was overreacting. But I was determined to get out of that marriage with my dignity intact. As I navigated the legal proceedings, I started piecing together the puzzle of Astrid's affair. I discovered that Thuron wasn't just a sculptor. He was also a notorious womanizer, known for seducing married women and leaving them heartbroken. He had a reputation for being charming and manipulative, preying on insecurities and vulnerabilities. I felt a surge of anger, not just at Astrid but at Thuron as well. He had deliberately targeted my wife, knowing she was married, knowing he was destroying a family. I wanted to make him pay. One day, I decided to pay Thuron a visit at his studio. I found him working on a sculpture, his hands covered in clay, a smug look on his face. "Quentin, isn't it?" he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Astrid told me you were a bit intense. I'm here to tell you to stay away from my wife," I said, my voice tight with rage. Thuron chuckled. "Your wife? She doesn't seem to think so. She's quite taken with me, you know. We have a connection you could never understand." I took a step closer to him, my fists clenched. "You're a parasite, Thuron. You feed off other people's misery. You destroy families for your own amusement." "Oh, come now, Quentin," he said, his eyes glinting with malice. "Don't blame me for your wife's unhappiness. She was looking for something more, something you couldn't give her." I wanted to hit him, to wipe that smug look off his face. But I knew that wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I decided to play him at his own game. "You think you're so clever, Thuron," I said, my voice calm despite the fury raging inside me. "But you're not as smart as you think. Astrid is a talented artist, but she's also incredibly insecure. She craves attention, validation. And you, with your smooth words and empty promises, are just giving her what she wants." Thuron's smile faltered. He didn't like being analyzed, being seen for who he truly was. "You think you can manipulate her, use her for your own ego boost," I continued. "But you're wrong. Astrid is stronger than you think, and she'll eventually see you for the fraud you are." I paused, letting my words sink in. "And when that happens, Thuron, you'll be left with nothing. No wife, no reputation, just a pile of broken sculptures and shattered dreams." I turned and walked away, leaving Thuron standing there speechless. I didn't know if my words had had any effect, but I felt a sense of satisfaction, knowing I had planted a seed of doubt in his mind. As the divorce dragged on, I focused on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, reconnected with old friends, and started exploring new hobbies. I took a pottery class, ironically, and found a surprising sense of peace in shaping clay. One day, I received a call from Astrid. Her voice was trembling, barely audible. "Quentin," she said, "I need your help." "What is it?" I asked, my heart sinking. "It's Thuron. He left me. He said I was too clingy, too demanding. He said he was tired of me." I felt a pang of pity for her, but I couldn't bring myself to offer her comfort. She had made her choices, and now she had to live with the consequences. "I'm sorry, Astrid," I said, "but I can't help you, but I have nowhere else to go," she cried. "I've lost everything. You lost everything when you decided to cheat on me," I said, my voice firm. "You made your bed, Astrid, now lie in it." I hung up the phone, feeling a sense of finality. The chapter of my life with Astrid was closed. It was time to move on. A few months later, I ran into a mutual friend who told me that Astrid had moved back in with her parents and was struggling to make ends meet. Thuron had moved on to his next conquest, leaving Astrid heartbroken and alone. I didn't gloat, didn't celebrate her misfortune. I simply felt a sense of closure, knowing that karma had finally caught up with her. I learned a valuable lesson from that experience, that trust is the foundation of any relationship, and once it's broken, it can never truly be repaired. I also learned that revenge, while tempting, is never the answer. The best revenge is to move on, to rebuild your life, and to find happiness again. I eventually met someone new, a kind and compassionate woman named Braunt. We built a relationship based on honesty, respect, and mutual trust. And this time I knew it was built to last. The rain outside has stopped. The sun is shining, casting a warm glow on the city. I look out the window, feeling a sense of peace I haven't felt in years. The storm has passed, and I'm finally free.